Hello, everybody. Hope you're doing well. It is STARJUMP Shipyard time. It is Tuesday, 11 a.m. Eastern, which is actually the normal time I do this show. Lately, I have been changing that time to, Tuesday nights, Wednesday nights, even done a few on Sunday nights. As many of you know, the schedule is kind of in flux as I sort of navigate the holiday months and all that kind of good stuff. But again, Tuesday at this time, Tuesday at 11. So if you're watching right now and you're thinking, oh, this is a cool time for the stream to be on, this is the normal time, right? So this is the normal time I try to do these. So we'll see as we go into the new year, what the new time, schedule looks like. I'll make sure to post that, of course. Thank you for everyone for showing up today and hanging out a little bit. We're going to be talking about the Drake Ironclad today. And fitting, we are doing a Drake Golem giveaway. The giveaway is not today, but by watching the stream today, since we're talking about Drake and we're talking about the Ironclad, I'm going to give everyone who pops into the stream today, you're going to get 5 extra entries. So the normal way to enter the giveaway, I think, gives you 3 entries. You're going to get 5 extra just by being here today. So there you go. Warbot Nick says, wish you do this at 1 p.m. Eastern. That is lunch period. Yeah. Well, this is 11 a.m. is kind of like my lunch period. So that's kind of why I'm doing it here. So sorry about that, Warbot, but hopefully it works out for you. Hopefully you can kind of sneak and tune in. Appreciate it either way. Everyone, we got a crowd showing up here. We got 36 over on Twitch and 61 over on YouTube. If you're over on YouTube, I love my YouTube community. You all are amazing. Thanks for, and YouTube is where we started, or where I started. If you do have a Twitch account, though, I would love if you watched it on Twitch as well as YouTube. The reason is I am trying to get to Twitch partner status. We're kind of there already, but now I'm just trying to keep a consistency of the numbers for Twitch up. YouTube, I'm already a partner on, which is great. That helps with propagation to you all. There will be some changes coming to the YouTube channel pretty soon, though, specifically centered around some of the rights usage stuff. More on that eventually, but yeah, so we're going to talk primarily about the Drake Ironclad today. Now, I will say I was hoping to have the bot up and running today. The bot is not up and running, so unfortunately, if you ask a question, which you're welcome to do, I'll have to grab it manually. I can usually do that without too much of an issue, so just make sure you put it in brackets, put question in big brackets so I can grab it. And like I said, I'll do my best. I'll do my best to grab them. It's not always easy. So yeah, do appreciate that. If you are out there, you like StarJump content, and you want to see me do more and more unique 3D stuff, especially, and or you just like what we do now, you like StarJump Fleet Viewer, stuff like that, and you want to do a one-time donation, Patreon's not your thing, right? Which totally get that. But Patreon's not your thing. Feel free to use my coffee link and donate there if you're hoping to help me out. I need to change that, though, because we did get the GPU. Let me delete that first part of that because I just copied and pasted that. Yes, there we go. But yes, you can always feel free to support me there if you want to. Not required, but if you do, that is amazing. Going into the holiday season here, it is December, and it's a little bit of a quiet time for Star Citizen, but we are on the cusp of 4.5 releasing, so that's kind of a little bit of the big news that we're sort of waiting on to drop. Hey, the Nissan over on Twitch is from Denmark. I was just shopping for Denmark antiquities because my wife is Danish, and yeah, so Denmark has been on the mind, actually. So thank you for that follow. Vermithrax Draco, thank you for that follow as well. Anyway, Shibusen, I'll grab your question. Here's Shibusen. I will I would say for anyone else, just put the word question in brackets. That way I can hopefully see it. I will get to questions here pretty soon though, okay? Yes, if you're watching on YouTube, by the way, you can keep watching on YouTube, totally fine. I love my YouTube community. That's where STARJUMP started. But we're just trying to get that Twitch metric up a little bit to help qualify us for some stuff, right? So, but again, really appreciate you all hanging out today. Mr. Exotic Viper says, are we giving away any ships? Yes, we are. And let's talk about that briefly. Today, we're going to be doing a Drake Golem giveaway. Now, the giveaway isn't until Thursday, so 2 more days from now. It is a starter pack. Let me grab the link real quick here, everybody. Just a second. It is a starter pack with LTI, courtesy of CIG. I'll put the link down there in chat. Now, here's the thing. If you are watching today, if you're in the stream today, watching, you don't have to chat, but if you're watching, I am grabbing whoever's in chat, and you're getting 5 extra tickets for this giveaway, okay? So just by being here, even though the giveaway isn't happening today, you can go to that Gleam link, enter, but just being in the stream today watching, you are getting extra entries that the regular people do not get, okay? So in addition to that, oh, there's Artorias Produces in chat. Art, I hope you're well, buddy. I figured you were at work today. Let me know if I'm wrong, though. let me know if I'm wrong. If you're sitting on chat, I can always pop on voice chat. If you have anything you want to add, just let me know. But here's the other big thing. Next year, 2026, we'll be giving away 2 big ships, okay? Last episode with Trispone, I talked about the Galaxy, right? Oh, right, it's your birthday today, right, Art? It's your birthday, I believe. Happy birthday, dude. Everyone give Artorias a birthday hello, a birthday 07. Artorias is my show producer. Make sure you give him an 07 in chat. It's the boy's birthday. Very nice to see you, Art. I hope you have a great birthday today, my friend. Let's see. Roos says, is this YouTube or Twitch only? It's both. It's both. I'm grabbing the names from both. So as long as you're in stream today, watching from either YouTube or Twitch, your name is, or your screen name is being recorded for those extra entries. Now, here's the big thing. Every time you watch a stream from now until Invictus, you will get an extra entry into my Drake Ironclad giveaway that I'll give away during Invictus, okay? I'm going to do the same thing for the Galaxy giveaway that I do at IAE next year. Now, that's a long way off, but just by hanging out with us today, or hanging out with us over the next few weeks, watching the streams, you don't even have to watch the entire stream. Even watching 30 minutes of it, you get recorded and you get extra entries to both the Ironclad and Galaxy giveaways next year. Okay, so that's the way I'm going to run that. So yeah, doing the Drake Golem giveaway right now. Make sure you go to that Gleam link. Go ahead and enter now, and then by watching the stream today, you get extra tickets, and we'll give this ship away on Thursday. Okay, we'll do a Thursday night stream. Again, this is a starter package with LTI. Okay, starter package with LTI. Stream schedule. What's the stream schedule? So I'm streaming today, and I'm going to stream Thursday night, 6 p.m. Eastern time. I will get that up. Okay, I'll get that up on the YouTube and the Twitch upcoming stream schedule. It's been a little busy with the holidays and stuff, so I've been a little slow getting the schedule up, but that will get up. Last but not least, I want to send out a shout out to my show sponsors. Really, really appreciate it. I have some amazing show sponsors. First one I want to shout out is Pigeon Spaceport. Good friends over at Pigeon Spaceport who have been absolutely amazing. I've been building a relationship with them. They make these really cool Scorpius models. You can use my STARJUMP link code right there. I just posted in the chat. You can use that code. And hey, Cameron, I hope you're doing well. You can use that code, and it will get you, I think it's 10% off. One of these models. They're really, really nice. They are ABS injection molded. They have, wings that actuate. You can get them in 3 different liveries, either the Stinger paint, the standard paint, or the Avalanche paint. Really, really nice stuff, $220. I am going to get one of these in hand very soon and do a proper review of it and possibly a giveaway on it. Okay. So big shout out to Pigeon Spaceport. Make sure you follow the link and give them a look. The next show sponsor I want to shout out is Icon City. IconCity.com. James over there has been a long time StarJump supporter. They've got Star Citizen icon packs. You can see right here. You can use my code over there, StarJump, when you purchase and get a, I believe it is a 10% discount as well. Okay. So use my code over there. Really do appreciate it. They have great stuff. James is a great dude. Make sure you support these companies that are trying to do awesome things for the Star Citizen community. Okay. All right. We have quite a few people showing up. 105 on Twitch. Absolutely amazing. You all blow me away. And we got 116 on YouTube watching. I really can't thank you both enough, both communities. So thank you very much. All right, what are we talking about today? Let's don't delay it any longer. We're talking about the Drake Ironclad. Okay, we're thinking about the Drake Ironclad. And again, if you have questions or comments, especially related to Drake Ironclad, please put question in brackets. I will try to grab them. Again, I may miss them. Sorry if I miss your question. My bot is not running today, so I'll do my best. Okay. So what is the Drake Ironclad? Well, the Drake Ironclad is 2 ships, actually. It is the Drake Ironclad and the Drake Ironclad Assault. The Ironclad base model is primarily a cargo ship, a freight running ship, right? And the Assault is an upgunned version of that, sort of upgunned military variant version of that same ship. Still carries a lot of cargo. At the same time, is a little bit more heavily armored and heavily gunned, and has some interior differences specifically related to the type of cargo it can focus on. So it's got a slightly widened front section to facilitate vehicle transfers better, and it's got a repair room. Again, we're going to get into the specifics there, and we are going to watch a little bit of the Ironclad is Rad video here. We're going to do some stop starts and react to it. Why are we talking about this show, right? Why are we talking about this ship on this show? And why did we talk about the Galaxy last show, right? The reason we're talking about these 2 ships is because these 2 ships, in my from everything we know, are going to be the 2 big marquee ships for next year. Marquee meaning that CIG will be putting a lot of effort into their marketing pushes. These will be the big ships at the 2 respective big shows next year. While not officially announced, and we're speculating a little bit, I think we can reasonably deduct that the Ironclad and the Ironclad Assault will go flight ready at DefenseCon next year. So Invictus, essentially, for those of you that are not up on DefenseCon, that is the ancillary event that happens next to Invictus. So we think the Ironclad and Ironclad Assault will go on sale there. There's some hints on why that is. And then, of course, the Galaxy was just recently announced as the big ship coming to IAE next year. That does not mean other big ships aren't coming. It just means those are sort of the 2 big marquee ships that we know are going to be super popular that CIG is going to put out next year, 2026. And there's going to be a big marketing push behind them. We're going to hear a lot about them. I think we're going to probably have some updates and some ISCs about their progress, etc. So that's why we're calling them marquee ships. Seymour Brown, good morning to you as well. Again, everybody, we have a great turnout tonight. You all are incredible. 114 on Twitch, 133 on YouTube. I really love this community. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to start this off by watching the Ironclad is Rad video from from CIG that was put out. What was this put out? A year ago, right? Yeah, about a year ago. So we're going to watch this. We're going to start, maybe react to it a little bit. True Sparta says, how do I enter the giveaway? Very, very easy. All you got to do to enter the giveaway is go to this Gleam link. We'll be giving the ship away on Thursday. But just by watching the stream today, you gain extra tickets or extra entries, okay? You get 5 extra entries, as a matter of fact. So here we go, everybody. We're going to put the headphones on, and we're going to go down the Ironclad is Rad journey. I have seen this. I have seen this video quite a few times because this is one of my favorite ships. But we're going to watch it. We're going to stop, start, react to it. I am grabbing your questions as much as possible. We're going to hit some of these questions. The way I do the questions, just so everybody knows, is I'll answer a few of them. Then we'll do some more coverage of our main topic. Then we'll go back to a few more questions, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, oh, real quick, Hobby92. Yes, Hobby92. What's up, Graham? Looking forward to the Perseus special. Yes, that should go out. Let me look at my sheet here because you won the Perseus poster. That should go out. That should go out on Thursday, Hobby. Thursday. Am I saying your name right, Hobby? Yeah, that should go out on Thursday, Hobby. So thank you for the patience on that. We've been waiting on as a matter of fact, I should switch over and talk about that. The reason the poster, by the way, was paused for a minute is that I was waiting on the new art for the Perseus and all the Fleet Viewer stuff. We do have that now. We do have that, and that is something I should probably announce to those of you that like StarJump Fleet Viewer. Again, if you haven't been there, go to starjumpfleetviewer.com. We did add the new ships to Fleet Viewer. So, first and foremost, obviously the Perseus. We have the new and improved Perseus. You can see how much the detail has increased there. So big thanks to VMXEO on that one. We have added the Drake Clipper, obviously. The Wolf, L22 Wolf has been added. What else did we add? We added the Salvation, right? We added the Golem Ox. Got to add our good friend the Golem Ox here, the one that we're currently giving away. And we added the MDC. Now, one cool thing was that, so we added the AIE ships, obviously, but we also added 2 art updates in the Zeus. We did an art update on the CL Mark II Zeus and the ES Mark II Zeus. So we did art updates on that. And we also, finally, because I know a lot of people were asking for it, we added the Super Hornet Heartseeker Mark II. So that is now in Fleet Viewer as well. So you can find all those ships in Fleet Viewer. And yeah, now that we have the updated Perseus art, we'll get that poster out to you, Hobby. Appreciate that. All right, let's go back to the Ironclad is Rad video here. We're going to watch this, and we will pause and on stuff we want to talk about, and I'm going to try to grab your questions as I see them. Okay. All right. True Sparta says, is 4.5 coming tomorrow? I don't know. Usually, I get a day's heads up on when it's coming from CIG, but I have not been told. I have not been told yet. So maybe tomorrow, but I'm not sure. Here we go. Let's start.
As we look beyond the event to the new offering being unveiled at this year's Drake DefenseCon, the far superior brand excluded from the usual Invictus festivities because it's too damn cool. I said it, and I'm tired of pretending it's not true. Drake.
Oh, real quick. Rampers Randall, hopefully I said that right. That issue has been fixed. It should be fixed. You may have to do a hard reset on your browser, but that issue should have been fixed. It was an issue that we found after we published.
Life.
These sentiments were recorded in April before that rap beef stuff, and Disco would like it known that K-Dot is king. Hashtag Westside. Also, that David is the best. Woohoo! Now we resume the program.
Let's force John Crew to talk about it now.
So in the Star Citizen universe, we have a lot of cargo ships, but they're sort of concentrated around the lower end of cargo hauling, sort of the low hundreds, SCU and below, and the very high end where there's multi-thousands. There's a mix of cargo ships which have their cargo on the inside, ones on the outside like the Hull series, and we really wanted to bring something different where it's sort of sits right in the middle. It's a nice progression step and facilitates both internal and external loading of cargo, which is where the Drake Ironclad comes in.
So again, it's supposed to occupy a place that sits somewhere in between the general high-end cargo ships like the C2, the Hercules, stuff like that, at around that 500 to 600 SCU range, but it's supposed to sit between that and the ultra high end sort of hull C, hull D, hull E stuff, where you start getting into 4,600, 6,700, whatever. You start getting to those higher end multi-thousand SCU ships. Thank you for the follows today, everyone.
Ironclad
Appreciate
is
it.
the kind of next step up for Drake cargo ships. It kind of builds on what the Caterpillar brings, but in a much larger form.
The Drake Ironclad is a 6-person, multi-crew, armoured freighter. A large proportion of the ship is dedicated to the cargo bay at the front of it, which has both a front ramp for loading and unloading cargo and small vehicles on the ground, as well as a retractable roof for doing that in space with EVA as well.
Little tight entrances to cargo ships doesn't necessarily lend itself to when you're out in deep space and you're trying to quickly move some cargo from one person's ship into your ship. Really, you want as much kind of access to be able to do that as you possibly can. So by having this kind of much larger opening on top of the ship, it allows us to kind of bring cargo in much easier.
So its role...
I want everyone to remember this image. As a matter of fact, I'm going to take a little bit of a screenshot here because we're going to reference this image a few times later. We're going to actually go into 3D and start mapping out a few things. So we'll do that here in just a short bit.
Being a sort of armoured freighter comes from two distinct ways. One, the cargo itself is more protected. It's within the cargo bay that has the armoured roof section that covers it. So unlike, say, a hull C where the cargo's on the outside, you can load it from the outside but then protect it with the Ironclad.
It's also more heavily armoured than the Caterpillar, so it kind of gives a little bit more security to your kind of precious cargo.
The exterior is very classic Drake brutish styling, a whole lot of engines and a lot of framework and quite thin structural elements support the rest of the ship. Very bare bones styling. It doesn't have lots of nice padding. It's all there and exposed, and it's really just sort of rugged and to the point.
Now, the funny thing about the Ironclad, if any of you remember my concept streams that I did, what was that, about a month ago or so? Essentially, I went through all those old concept, art, I guess what would you call them? I guess early concept sketches for some of these ships. You'll notice that with Drake, and it's not just with the Ironclad, but it's with the Ironclad, the Corsair, the Kraken. You'll notice that Drake or CIG's been playing with a lot of very common Drake elements across all the Drake lineup, and some of those elements are specifically things like exterior cladding, different parts and pieces. And the funny thing about the Ironclad is that when you really inspect the model, and we may do that, you'll see those pieces come up again and again. So the Ironclad is the culmination of previous design work that has gone into ships, like early concept work that's gone into ships like the Kraken and stuff, sort of get further iterated on and turned into a different ship. So kind of interesting.
So the Ironclad is really three distinct areas. You have all the accommodation in the rear sort of third of the ship. The front 2/3 is really just this cargo bay with the front entrance and the retractable roof. And then you have the command module, which has seats for the crew, plus a few little jump seats for everyone else. Command module is there to steer the ship when it's attached, and the command module serves as the escape pod as well. The only time you really want to detach it is in an emergency. It's not designed to be your sort of primary ship flying around.
It kind of gives you a little bit of a get-out-of-jail-free card if you're transporting stuff that is quite valuable, quite sought after in maybe some of our less desirable systems. What it allows you to do is kind of have a little bit of security. So if you're getting attacked or you're getting yourself into trouble, if you want to save yourself, you can kind of jettison your cargo and try and get out of Dodge and kind of get out to safety. And I think that's like a really important thing as we get closer to Death of a Spaceman.
With some of the
you can fully expect, by the way, that the work, because the command module's work is not necessarily ship teamwork, but it's game feature teamwork. So what does that mean when we hear that? Essentially, that means is that the game features team will develop the code, the tech that allows one entity to disconnect from another entity, fly independently, reconnect, and all flight controls transfer over to the large entity from while being controlled from the connected entity. So that bit of code there is essentially the feature. Once that feature is done, it is handed back over to the ship team for them to further iterate on it and further integrate that sort of specific gameplay into this ship. The ship team itself, though, is not the one making the command module tech. That is a different team at CIG altogether. However, what that does mean is that it's very, very possible you will see first off, the same tech come to the Ironclad, of course, but also what you may see is additional ships get concepted that utilize that tech, because CIG is going to want to maximize the work put into that, right? They're going to want to fully exploit that. So again, if they finally have the tech in hand, that's going to inspire the ship teams to create new ships. I wouldn't say new concepts, but I guess internally they're still concepts, but come up with new concepts that can have that same sort of gameplay. Now, some people are calling out the Endeavor and the Crucible in chat, and you're exactly right. There's elements of those ships that have that same tech in them. Now, those two specific ships probably need to go through a pretty sizable redesign, but you are correct. Those ships have that tech in them as well. Let's keep watching.
It's tech that's come online. This brought us one step closer to implementing command modules properly. So not only will you see this detachable command module feature on the Ironclad, but as well it will happen on the Caterpillar.
Interior-wise, you've kind of got two entrances onto the ship. You can either enter via the command module, and that takes you straight into a kind of corridor section. It's kind of like almost like a mezzanine. You can either go up to the habitation area, which is top floor of the ship, gives you like super nice views out both the kind of cargo out the front and the rear of the ship, or you can kind of come down the ship into the main habitation area. Alternatively,
those of you that watched the stream from earlier in the week on the Galaxy with Trispone, you remember we talked about the walkthroughs Trispone did on the Galaxy and the fact that he pretty much mapped out the Galaxy. He did the same thing with the Ironclad and did some really, really great work there. I applaud him because it is a lot of effort to build out ships that essentially are going to be built by CIG, months later. So you're putting a lot of work into something that will sort of be not relevant at some point. But he did a lot of great work. I'll just pull that up real quick here. He essentially, with that model, he does like a full walkthrough, which is really nice of his model. And again, we're going to inspect this a little bit here in a minute. So as a matter of fact, I'll just drag this up. Actually, I'll drag it over here for right now. But let's keep watching.
you can enter through the dock and collar airlock, which is on the opposite side of the ship. At the rear of the interior of the ship, we've kind of got the heart of the engines. It's the big kind of engineering area where we've got all of the kind of main functional components needed for moving such a large ship. And then if you kind of come slightly further forward, got we call it the kind of like the command.
There's a lot of people here that will pause when they get to areas like this in the video, because this starts to give you your real layout here of the ship, showing how you can progress through different areas of the ship, shows the individual habs up here. You can see that just barely up here with like a common area down here. Again, so you just start to get a sense of that layout. This is the command, I guess they call it the command bridge, where you control the cargo and tractor beams and all that kind of stuff is done from up here. I do still wish that this was something you could control the ship from if you wanted. We'll have to see if CIG makes the same decision. Currently, though, the plan is for this to only control cargo operations on the ship. It just seems like too prominent of an area to not include flight control on. So
on deck, it's not a bridge. You can't fly the ship from it, but it's where you operate the tractor beams. It's where it kind of gives you good views out over the front and into space. You've got the tractor beam turrets, but also, visually you can kind of stand in this area or sit in this area and look out over the front and over the bow of the ship and kind of really see what you're trying to pull in or what you're trying to capture into your cargo hold. As we come downstairs, we've got a little kind of covered area at the rear of the cargo hold, and that is where you can store a couple of small ground vehicles or some of your equipment for moving vehicles and cargo around. And then you're into the main cargo hold of the ship, and this takes up the majority of the interior.
And this is one of the most common, one of the most unique things about this ship that I find is one of the most common things for people to bring up when I talk to them, is that this ship is unique in that its cargo area is one big open room. It's not funneled by any sort of like, corridors or, any weird ways of getting the cargo in there, like spinal mounts or any of that kind of stuff. It's just one big, gigantic enclosed room. I think that does appeal to a lot of people for various reasons. And CIG does go into this a little bit in the video, everything ranging from how you load the cargo, but also just these big open spaces on ships. I think a lot of people look at these areas as flexible, sort of emergent gameplay areas. And they say, when you look at things like, what was it? Hey, Red Samurai, I hope you're well. When you go back like 2 CISN ago, CIG talked about selling our own goods, right? Being able to maglock things that we want to sell down and essentially create a store, right? Create a storefront that people can come on board, buy things. With these big open areas on ships like this, what you're doing is you're giving the ability for people to build their own flying marketplaces, right? They can put some 32 SCU cargo crates in there to sort of divide this space up, put little store stalls in there, maglock items down, invite people aboard, sell those items. So again, I see the Ironclad ships like that, the Kraken, things like that, where they've got these big cargo areas that people can sort of form and fit and convert to their own needs. I do think that's one of the big draws to this ship, not just the fact that it can carry, 2,200 SCU of cargo in 32 SCU crates. I mean, that's great, and it makes a great hauler. But I think people are very forward thinking with this ship and try to think of what they're going to be able to do with it in the future, like in a 1.0 version of the game, right? So let's keep watching.
Space is this large cargo hold. One of the things that we were kind of really keen to do was give lots of different views and different angles down into this cargo hold. Again, as we're exploring slightly less lawful systems, we wanted to give the players as much opportunities as we can to kind of be safe aboard their own ship. So either side of the cargo hold, we've got these gantries that run completely front to rear on the ship, and they give great view down into your cargo bay. They also give that opportunity of, if there's someone tries to board you via the cargo bay, it gives you some nice cover opportunities. And we've also got a few little windows that kind of look down into it as well. As you move to the very front, the very nose of the ship, those gantries lead into a kind of secure cargo area. It's somewhere that's a little bit more difficult to get to when you kind of enter the ship. The big thing we were referencing when we were looking at it was this idea of police evidence rooms. And so these kind of individual cages where you could put your most secure cargo, whatever it might be, in this area, and it would make it quite difficult to try and breach in or out of that area. So it gives us just somewhere a little bit more secure for kind of smaller cargo items. Finally, at the very front, we've got access to one of the...
Hi there, everybody. What you're looking at here is the sort of the concept mesh. The ship was designed by Gavin Rothery. Those of you that don't know him, we actually had him on as a guest on an early STARJUMP Station episode a few years back. But Gavin has designed ships from, the Galaxy and the Perseus to the Kraken, the Ironclad, all the way to the Gladius. So I think he's designed the most ships in Star Citizen. He is a freelance contractor, though. He's not like a full CIG employee. He's a freelance contractor. He's also a film director. Super nice guy, and a lot of fun to talk to. So,
main turrets and the track beam turret.
The biggest attraction for me with it is just the versatility of the cargo space. From a good citizen law standpoint, it is a cargo ship, but also that retractable roof and the tractor beams on board it give it some less legal opportunities for perhaps taking other people's cargo ships in space and on.
Oh my goodness. Nonstop Bops just rated with 90 viewers. Bops, I appreciate you, buddy. How you doing? How was your stream? Everyone, if you don't know Nonstop Bops, Bops does some incredible content. I need to, let's see here. There we go. Let me get my shout out system ready here. There we go. Give Bops a shout out. Bops, thank you very much, man. I appreciate you. How was your stream? Hope your stream was well. Did you get up to anything fun? For those of you that don't know, Nonstop Bops is someone I met through Execute, and Bops has his own channel where he does a lot of combat focused stuff. He is a big fan of the Vandal stuff. It's a lot of fun to talk to him. I've had some great conversations with him. I do want to have him on the show at some point soon. So yeah, thank you, Bops, for sending your community over here. I will go ahead and say, everybody, we are doing a Drake Golem giveaway on Thursday. So if you want to enter that, it's real easy to enter. It's all free. You just go to the Gleam link down in chat. And I actually, you know what? I'll be smart here and just pin that to chat. But you can go to that Gleam link, enter the giveaway through there. Now, here's the thing. Just by being here today, just by popping into chat, not actually chatting, but just watching the stream, I have an app that records everyone who stops by the stream, and you're getting extra tickets in on this giveaway for Thursday. Okay, so just by being here, you're getting free extra tickets. You don't have to do anything. And then that goes a step further, that just by watching any streams from now until Invictus gets you an extra ticket for each stream you're here for at least 30 minutes, gets you an extra ticket to my Ironclad giveaway that will be at Invictus. So again, just by being here and hanging out, you're being recorded and being marked down for extra tickets. Okay. Bob says, it was amazing, Graham. Got to finish early because I am doing an early recording with Info Runners. I'm happy to be on your show literally anytime. Appreciate that, buddy. Also, I got my partner tick today. Dude, congratulations. Very, very well deserved. I think mine's still under review. I don't think I'll get it this first time. I know you have to kind of go back and forth a little bit on it. But we'll see. I did apply. I hit the metrics. So we'll see. We'll see. I don't know. Marcus says it's Ironclad. Yes, the Ironclad. Exactly what I was talking about. So we'll see. But congratulations on your partner tick, Nonstop Bops. It's very deserved. Very deserved, my friend. You do amazing content and appreciate that raid. Really, really appreciate it. All right, everybody. We're watching the Ironclad is Rad video. We're going to keep watching that. Let's keep going.
The ground.
Oh, and if this is your first time to my channel, please give it a follow. I do appreciate that. If you are a fan of STARJUMP Fleet Viewer, that is one of the things I am known for. You can go to starjumpfleetviewer.com, check out your fleets. I do all the new IAE ships there for those of you that were waiting on that. But if you like my content, you're new to the channel, please hit follow. Really do appreciate it. All right, let's continue on.
Recording, we're also exploring a more military-themed variant of the Ironclad. Doesn't have the name yet, so we'll just call it the Drake.
Ironclad Assault.
Compared to the base ship, this has been developed to support ground assault operations. It has additional turrets covering the upper and lower surfaces to provide more fire support. And the front section of the cargo area has been redesigned to enable our largest vehicles in game to be deployed from it, such as the tank. In addition, the cargo bay has been reduced in size to facilitate a onboard repair facility. So for those of you who want to have a journey in the cargo profession, traditionally you would start out in something, say like a Hull A. The next step up from there really is sort of into Drake Caterpillar territory. So you're doing roughly an 8 to 10 times jump in cargo capacity. From there, the Ironclad sits nicely between those smaller ships and the much larger bulk carriers such as the Hull C, and then ultimately you get to things like the Hull D, E, and Kraken at the end of the cargo career.
You said Kraken.
Yes.
You know, it's interesting. It's interesting that he refers to the Kraken as sort of the end of that cargo gameplay loop. The Kraken, I don't know. Do I have the stats up here? Let me pull those stats up here just so I have them handy. The Kraken, while it does carry a lot of cargo at 3,792 SCU currently, there's ships that carry much more than that. You know, the Hull C carries quite a bit more than that, almost 1,000 SCU more at 4,608. But then obviously ships like the D and E carry more as well. It was just interesting the way John phrased that, that the Kraken was at the end of the cargo sort of gameplay lineup. I would expect the Kraken to sort of be in between the Banu Merchantman and the Hull C is where it sort of sits. And then from the Hull C, you go to the Hull D and then the E, etc. So still a lot of cargo. I think one of the reasons maybe he said that, though, is that the Kraken, yes, it does carry at least currently 3,792 SCU cargo. It also is able to carry ships and other types of freight on its main deck, on its main flight deck. And I do think CIG considers, especially for future gameplay, I do think CIG considers ship transport as part of transporting freight in some ways. And primarily because I think we're going to have missions in the future that have us transporting ships, not just freight. So yeah. And again, thank you for those follows, everyone, especially everyone who came over from Bob's channel. Really appreciate that. Appreciate that support. Let's keep it going.
Head Kraken.
Yes.
Was that a hint at anything?
It's not a hint at anything, but making the Ironclad makes the Kraken easier.
So building out the Ironclad does, of course, kind of help us with building out the Kraken. I think increasing that visual library of assets that we can pull from and use in a Drake manufacturer at the right scale is super valuable for when we move on to the large ships.
Of course, a non-Drake.
So let's pause there. So that's the end of that episode now. Wolf Blitzer said there in chat, so does that mean the Kraken will have a large cargo hold as well as shipping? Yeah, that's exactly what it is. The Drake Kraken has a very large cargo hold, but what's interesting about its cargo hold is it's kind of got one big area that holds cargo, and then one floor down and slightly forward, it's got a secondary cargo hold. So I'm not sure how CIG is going to split that up or if that's still the plan. It's just currently in the model we have, that's the way the cargo is divided up. There's a cargo 1 and then there's a cargo 2. And I'm not talking about the little cargo area up in the, for like the private shops and the privateer up by the Dragonfly Bay. I'm talking just pure cargo hold. It's got sort of 2 cargo sections, the big cargo 1 and then a small cargo 2. Okay. But anyways, Drake Ironclad here. Again, you can see the exterior here. It's got, all the stuff you would expect on a ship like this. It's going to have turrets and defenses. You all know I don't go super in depth on, the size of turrets and the component numbers, this and that and the other, only because it probably will change when this ship goes flight ready, and probably will change after this ship goes flight ready. We've already seen through development, CIG has changed turret sizes, component numbers to get ships more balanced. This ship was revealed, I think, about a year and a half ago. So I think that about a year and a half ago, I think. So it's been some time. CIG has most likely updated some of those numbers. So we won't deep dive those. Just suffice it to say that currently the ship is supposed to have 1 size 5 manual turret, 1 size 3 manual turret, and then 2 size 3 remote turrets. Interior wise, and again, we're going to pull up this imagery. As a matter of fact, do I have that ready? Let me pull that up since we're talking about it. All right, let's bring it up. There we go. Currently, the ship has most of its habitation, engineering, flight control, all that stuff on this back section of the ship, right? Kind of the back third of the ship. And then from the sort of the front 2/3 of the ship are really where the ship leans into its role, the role of freight mover, freight carrier, cargo ship, whatever you want to call it. So when you look at some of these ships, like I'll just pick one off the top of my head, like the Idris, a lot of times there's things to be said about CIG utilizing the space well, right? So utilizing every little bit of interior space to their advantage, really filling the ship out, using every little nook and cranny for some sort of some sort of gameplay element within the ship, whether that's a little engineering area, a cargo elevator, whatever, right? We've seen this usage manifest on newer ships too, like the Polaris and the Perseus, where stuff that wasn't originally in the concept interior space layout has made its way into the flight ready layout, because again, as they start to fill out the ship interior, they're just packing more in there. And there's sort of two ways CIG can go about it. They can utilize that space just for general ship needs, right? So maybe giving it a bigger habitation area, giving it a bigger engineering area, which is now becoming very important, giving it maybe bigger crew, a bigger, more spacious bridge or what have you. The other way of doing it, though, is dedicating a majority of the ship's space and really maximizing that space for the ship's intended role, so the actual gameplay of the ship. And I think that's what they're doing here on the Ironclad, and one of the reasons the Ironclad is so popular, because, again, a huge majority of the ship, 2/3 of the ship, is set aside specifically for the actual gameplay loop the ship partakes in. Okay, we're going to grab a few questions real quick here. Just to catch up on some of these. Sabusin says, what do you think about inflation and messed up economy in the verse? Well, CIG is going to need economy controls, right? They're going to need ways to manipulate the economy, whether that's player controlled or player influenced economies. They're going to need mechanisms to adjust things. That's typically very easy because you can utilize things like gold sinks, for lack of better words, and other, high taxes, security costs, maintenance costs, all that kind of stuff can go into sort of CIG's gold sinks, and they can, then sort of control inflation via those mechanisms. We have to see how that all nets out, but I think CIG does need some level of control for sure. Otherwise, the economy will be a mess, right? It'll be a mess. Blue Jester 987 says, do you think CIG is starting to worry that the idea of balancing economy in the future is getting away from them? The sheer amount of money in player transactions due to the Wicklow chain is on a scale I don't think they foresaw. Well, you very well may be right. And by the way, everyone, if you have a question, just put question in brackets and then ask your question. I'll have to grab it manually. The bot's not working right now. Well, yes. Yes, but at the same time, this is where that figuring out needs to be happening. We're in alpha, we're in testing. This is where CIG needs to see that balancing the economy is a challenge and a problem. And that way they can build in the proper tools, switches, levers, all that kind of stuff for them to keep things in check. This is a good place for them to see if things like Wicklow is a good idea, right? Maybe this just shows that, oh, okay, Wicklow is not a good idea, or if we do implement it in the 1.0 game, we need to implement it in a different way, right? Very, very possible. So, again, thank you for the follows, everyone. Really, really appreciate that. Cam writes this question. Hi, Grim. Slight sidetrack, but given people keep comparing the Ironclad and the Liberator, what do you think the Liberator's cargo could be updated to realistically? Well, let's take a look at the Anvil Liberator here, just from its stats. And it's currently slated to hold 400 SCU of cargo. Now, we have seen, I would say a trend of, again, going back to that interior space maximizing kind of ethos. If CIG is truly trying to maximize space interior of ships, they could come up from that 400 SCU. You could see maybe some slight changes to how cargo is loaded or the space that cargo is being held in the Liberator. Even just some slight changes could take that from 400 to maybe 520 or 550 SCU. So again, it doesn't take much, right? It doesn't take much. Wayne C., thanks for subscribing over on YouTube. Do appreciate that. And by the way, everybody, had a great turnout today. And again, thank you again, Bops, for that raid. 252 on Twitch and 229 on YouTube. I do appreciate all of you. We've had a crazy amount of follows today, almost too many to mention, but I'll try to skim a few of them real quick here because I do like to call them out when I can. Lord Kiro, Ogre the Ogre, I like that one. Admiros, Ma Preacher, DeBando, Arcade Alchemist, Wolf Blitzer cheered 5 bits. Wolf Blitzer, thank you very much, buddy. Wood Monkey, Aerothrox, Maxi Aid, Revenant, Misfit, Mr. Exotic Viper, Commander YOLO, Selviar, Ridiculous. God, I can't do these names, everybody. It's hard. It's hard. Who else we got? Maluki, Ruffers, Rick Pearson, Dirty, Digistruction, Meltamar, Zald Beers. You know, we hit our 7,500 follower goal just now. So everyone in chat, give yourself an 07. We just hit the 7,500 follower goal, which is incredible. Really appreciate that. Commander Murr, Redeemed Stretch. Gave myself a nice little stretch there. But yeah, just a crazy amount of follows here. Meltmar, Zaldabus, Trumps, Grayman 1, Zergi, Kamalakun 123, Primal Walker, Celtic Bass, Haunt 42. Really do appreciate that, everyone. Wanted to catch up on a few of those. So thank you very much. Next question here. And again, I do sometimes jump around on the questions, so bear with me. Let's see here. We talked about the Ironclad and the Liberator, but yeah, I think the Liberator could come up. I don't think the Liberator is a cargo running ship though, like the Ironclad is. So I'm not expecting the Liberator to go up to like multi-thousand, SCU of cargo. It's going to be, I think, a little higher than 400, but I think it'll be 520, 540, 600 max, right? Next question. Kyle Smith says, question, what's below the cargo floor rear of this ship? I remember seeing what looked like an empty space that could be room below in the concept art, the Dragonfly Bay. Are you referring to the Kraken? Kyle Smith, are you referring to the Kraken or the Ironclad? On the Ironclad, it's engineering, I believe, because engineering is sort of like 2 decks. On the Kraken, it's definitely engineering because if you've ever seen my my Kraken Shipyard video that I did, it's on my YouTube channel. I can post a link to that in just a minute. But I did a Kraken Shipyard video that sort of walked through the cross section of the of the Kraken. Did a Kraken cross section video, and when you walk through that, it's clear that engineering is a multi-story kind of section of the ship. So let's see here. So hopefully that's what you were referring to, Kyle Smith. I think we were talking about the Kraken at that time though. Cynic Fenrir says, what would your thoughts about a dedicated prison transport variant of the Ironclad with something along the lines of more stasis pods on rails similar to the Cutlass Blue? Potentially with a gameplay loop for you to be able to be intercepted before arriving at Klesher. So yeah, I mean, from a gameplay loop standpoint, it's awesome. I love that. I personally would like 2 sort of things to happen. I would like CIG to add in ways for us to customize the interior of our ships to plug into other gameplay loops to where it's not like a modular thing or a variant thing. It's just a ship flexibility emergent thing, right? So I personally, within the cargo area of the Kraken, the cargo area of the Ironclad, I would like to place, be able to place things in there that hold cryopods. You know what I mean? And outfit the ship like that. Now, maybe it doesn't operate as perfect as a dedicated, ship that deals with cryopods, but you could still do it. In terms of just a variant, sure, with this big open space, the sky's the limit. You could make all kinds of variants of the Ironclad, right? There could be a medical variant. There could be, a pretty much anything, I think, at this point, because it's just a giant open space. It's not like you're trying to conform a gameplay loop feature into one little area of a ship. This is like 2/3 of the ship. So this thing can be, technically turned into anything. They won't, but it could be. Doodle Pimp says, do you think a hybrid / variant ship like the Ironclad Assault is inferior to specialized alternatives? Inferior, no. I think that it's it really kind of comes down to how it's used. It really does. It comes down to how it's used and what I'm just going to play this in the background here, everybody. Our good buddy Trispone did an awesome video of this. I think it's just how it's used, and how sometimes things like where a cargo door is can suddenly make, or where an elevator is, can suddenly make a ship much more viable than a ship that specializes in that role. So it really comes down to just the unique attributes of the ship itself. The Ironclad has a lot going for it in that department, right? So yeah, and by the way, everyone, if you want to watch the Trispone video yourself of his Ironclad walkthrough, here is the link to that. Make sure you check that out. Give him a follow as well. Again, he does awesome work. So continuing on with our questions, Doomer1 says, will the Ironclad bring with it changes to the Drake Caterpillar that could include physical components? Yeah, I would expect it to. I would expect the Caterpillars getting kind of a glow up in general. I don't think it'll be the full rework that the Caterpillar. I don't think the Caterpillar will get a full rework like it deserves. I hope it does by DefenseCon, but technically the Caterpillar needs a pretty large rework, not only in terms of physical components, but how you load cargo. I honestly think it needs some size modifications to its modular areas so that it can carry the 32 SCU crates. Right now, the elevator just barely can hold one, but it doesn't even hold it very well and bugs out a lot. So the Caterpillar definitely needs some work. Karsten says, question, do we know if the roof of the Assault and base Ironclad will open the same? Yeah, from everything we've heard, the Ironclad and Ironclad Assault roofs open to the same degree. There could be some differences there in terms of one maybe opening slower because it's a little bit more heavily armored, but from everything we've heard, both roofs on the Ironclad and Ironclad Assault open, and they both open the same way and to the same degree. Okay. Doomer1 says, will the Ironclad Assault come with repairing or possibly just start out with a crafting capability? That's a great question, and one I hope we hear about soon. I think the real question you're asking there is, are there any additions to repair gameplay coming in the first quarter of this year? We haven't heard of anything, right? We haven't heard of anything in regards to that. I personally hope we do. I think it's long overdue. But it really just comes down to CIG has that on the roadmap. If they do not, then personally I just see the repair bay coming with that crafting station, and that's kind of it. And then they expect you to just do the hand repair there, sort of the hand repair stuff with the is it the SRT Cambrio SRT thing? I forget. And then obviously with the crafting components, you can switch out some components on smaller ships and stuff. So that's probably what it will be. Keep It Secret says, will both sections of the ship be able to control flight, not just command the ship? So from everything we have heard up to this point, just the command module will control the ship in flight. I think that's one of the most controversial aspects of the Ironclad. So will they keep it that way? I'm not sure. I think actually it could be a really big, exciting surprise for CIG to come out that you will be able to control the ship from that command deck, not the command module, but the command deck, or whatever their terminology is for that. if that command deck is something that you are able to fly the ship from, that's going to be huge. I think people are going to love that. It's going to be a huge quality of life thing. The question then arises, okay, well then what is the command module for? And does allowing the command deck to fly the ship, does that somehow take the spotlight around the new feature that is the command module tech, right? I don't think it does. I think it just gives you more ways to take this ship out, performance function, and bring it home safely. As long as there's more ways to do that without altering the ship in any major way, I think it's a win. We already have the command deck up there. There's already big seats. There's a good view out the front. It's really just giving the pilot control, right? I think the bigger issue is, does the command module with its flight control attributes docking with the Ironclad, does it supersede the command deck's flight control capabilities, or does it act something more like the Carrack, where it's just two different flight seats and different locations of the ship that you can fly the ship from, right? And I think there's other ships that do that too, right? The 890 Jump, right? And its battle bridge doesn't have alternate controls there. So it's not without precedent. It's just, will CIG do it, right? And we'll have to see. Personally, I do hope they allow the command deck to pilot the ship. Infinity says, question, does the command module have a quantum drive inside it? Yes, I believe it does. I believe it does. So chat can correct me on that if I'm wrong, but I believe the command module does have a quantum drive, and I feel like CIG is kind of heading that way in general, where they're not limiting the quantum drives on some of these snubs and smaller ships. So I'm assuming that it does. Camright says, hi Graham, slight sidetrack, but given people keep comparing the, okay, we answered that one. Question, does the command module have a quantum drive? We answered that one. How hard would it be to transform the Ironclad into a big salvager? Well, I would think pretty big, because you're really sort of talking a different ship at that point, right? You're sort of talking a different ship at that point. I think CIG would probably be more apt to just make an all new salvager. We've heard of this orange salvager coming. The speculation is that it's a large orange salvage ship, probably from Argo, that is sort of in the in the works to some degree. I think Ben Curtis mentioned it on the Ship Showdown Q&A that CIG did just a few months back, just like 2 or 3 months back. So you can go look for that. It's the Ship Showdown live Q&A. I think it was a Star Citizen Live, and they talk a little bit about that. Shimpasta says, with the cargo changes for the Ironclad at this point, do you feel the Assault version is better due to the bigger cargo ramp? So what Shimpasta is asking there is, originally the Ironclad Assault had like 1,000 SCU of cargo. The Ironclad base version had like 1,500. Well, now those have been upped significantly. So the Ironclad base has like 2,200 SCU of cargo, and the Ironclad Assault is now up to like 1,500 SCU of cargo. So the idea is like, well, is now the Ironclad Assault the true, is that's sort of like the base Ironclad now, but with some additional benefits that come with the Ironclad Assault, right? Such as the crafting area, as well as the larger front ramp to facilitate vehicles. And I would probably, I guess my answer to that would be, if the metrics of the original Ironclad before they made the cargo changes were something that you felt was right for you, then the Ironclad Assault is now the perfect ship to get. Because it now hits those metrics and has some added benefits to it. Okay. Real quick, everyone, I was just alerted that the bot is working, so I'm turning that on. Okay, so the bot is working, so I should be able to pick up questions a little easier now, okay? Let's see here. Let me grab, bear with me here, everybody, as I navigate for a minute. Guardian01 says, question, do we think the Ironclads will be long-range ships with good-sized quantum tanks? I would think so. With that level of cargo, 2,200 SCU of cargo, I think CIG is thinking more long-distance sort of cargo trips with these. Simon Dolak says, Iron Salvager, what do you think, bad or good? Someone really wants the Ironclad to be a salvager. Here's the thing. I would love a Drake Salvager on this scale, like a large Drake Salvager. I just don't know if this is the ship CIG would choose to be the base for that salvage operation. Yeah, I just don't think. I think they'd come up with something completely new. Artemis TGM says, question, what would you like to see next from Argo? A salvager, a large salvager. Yeah, pretty much just what I said, which is something CIG you kind of mentioned. The only other thing I'd like to see from Argo would be, you know how we have the Pioneer will build the supply hubs, which then build the large space stations. I think from Argo, I would love to see a ship that can build small space stations, like that don't require the supply hub. Think more like, you know, a space station that's just for you and like 3 or 4 of your buddies. I would love to see Argo focus on a ship like that. Wolf Blitzer says, what do you think spurred the Ironclad cargo capacity increase? Well, let's take a look at that. We're going to actually go into 3D real quick here. I'm going to bring up something. Let me turn on the right camera here. Okay. Let's bring up 3D for a minute here, everybody. We will get back to some questions. Okay, here is the Ironclad. We're looking at this in Cinema 4D. It's not the prettiest in the world, but it'll give us a sense of things. Now, if we spawn the 32 SCU cargo crate, it is... Let me scale it up here because it's currently too small. Let me scale it to scale. That is a 32 SCU cargo crate with the current hollow model of the Kraken. Okay. Now, one important thing to note is that originally the Kraken was supposed to have these sort of staircases, or sorry, these ladders, not staircases, that led up to these gantries. Now, this is probably way too many. This is just because I cloned this out. It probably actually doesn't have this many. But the idea is that they would have these ladders that went up. Now, the problem with that is when CIG was mapping out the cargo, if you have a 32 SCU crate here, right, and you put another one next to it, you see you're quickly sort of blocking off that staircase, right? Especially if both of these boxes are more nudged up like this, right? You sort of make that ladder, I said staircase again, you sort of make that ladder non-usable, right? So what CIG did in the original Ironclad was that they left these gaps, right, throughout the cargo grid, sort of these gaps like this, where you might have, let's duplicate these and scale. So let's say you have two 32 SCU crates here. They would leave a gap right here so that you could get to that ladder, right? Let me bring these down a little bit here. There we go. They would leave a gap here so that you could still get to this ladder right here, right? What CIG has now said is that they've closed that gap because they don't think there's any need for that, and maybe they've got a different way to utilize those. So what they were able to do is all throughout the cargo where the boxes were laid out but had these gaps for the ladders, they've now just closed the gap, right? So they've been able to push, and then that allows them to do all the boxes in that same way. So you see over the course of the Ironclad's cargo bay, you start making up a lot of cargo capability, right? Just in closing those gaps, right? And that takes you to an area where you are, let me turn on my cloners here. That goes into an area where you start stacking cargo crates too high. You leave a central corridor to be able to walk through, but that right there, for example, is I think 6,800, or this right here is 6832 SCU boxes. Okay, that's 6832 SCU boxes. I think this ship carries 69 total. So the rest of that cargo capability may be back here, maybe up in the secure cargo area. I don't know, but essentially, what I'm kind of show there is that by eliminating those spaces, you put a lot more room in there for additional boxes, and those additional boxes can add up. That can take you from, 1,000, what was it, 500 something SCU of cargo, all the way up to 2,200 something SCU of cargo. All right, so that's a pretty big jump. All right, pretty big jump. A few more questions here. What about air loss and space loading? This is from Amka 1313. Yeah, if you open the cargo bay in space, you open the big overhead issues, you're not going to have air. You will still have gravity because the floor of the main cargo area has, those maglock surfaces, so you'll be able to walk around as normal, but you will lose air. So you're going to need to have, undersuit with a helmet on at the very least. Citizen Ninja says, any chance both Ironclads release at the same time? Yeah, I am personally myself, I'm anticipating both Ironclads releasing at the same time. I know there was some discussion about that previously. CIG has, quite a bit has released one ship while keeping one variant back. We've seen that with the Zeus. We've seen it with other ships in the past. The Zeus MR is a ship we know is coming, but has just sort of been placed on hold. So they could absolutely do that, but I don't think that's the case here. I think we'll get the Ironclad and Ironclad Assault at the same time. The primary goal of the Ironclad Assault is to carry vehicles and be able to stay in a fight longer. It's still going to be able to do that come Invictus. The only real thing that it may not have the ability to do is the repair gameplay, but even that, I think CIG will have some aspect of that in. Even if it's just crafting components, they're going to have some level of that in. So yeah, I expect both Ironclad and Ironclad Assault at the same time. Keep It Secret says, question, do you think the Liberator will increase in size to accommodate ships larger than small ships like fighters, snubs, or will it get to medium-sized ships like Asgard or Paladin? No, I think the Ironclad will primarily be for small and extra small ships. I think the Ironclad is specifically sort of built around the idea of carrying ships like the Hornet series, the Terrapin, etc. It's an anvil ship. It doesn't have to necessarily carry every anvil ship. It doesn't have to carry ships from other manufacturers. I think the primary goal with the Liberator is that it carries the Hornet series or any ship of appropriate size, right? I think that's the goal there. The Nissan says, question, do you have an idea to CCU chain up to the Ironclad from the Clipper? So I am not a CCU expert. I have done it a little bit here and there to some degree of success, but if you do have a real interest in CCUing, there are ways to do that. I think there's the CCU calculator. You can also check out InfoRunner's Discord. I know they do a lot of that over there. Figment75 says, hi, Graham. Thanks for being awesome. I do appreciate that. Thank you for being awesome as well. And thanks for hanging out today. It's a lot of fun having everybody. We'll hit a few more questions here, and then we'll talk about the ship a little bit more. Some type of scarab says, question, do you think the Ironclad and Raylan will be a good duo to own for a cargo hauler? One with larger capacity for safe hauls and vehicles, and the other with mobility hauling for hostiles. Yeah, I mean, they both play in the cargo gameplay, regime, but they do it in very different ways. One of them is very much, a rough and tumble human manufacturer. One is an alien manufacturer. They carry different levels of cargo, with the Ironclad at 2,206 or something like that, and the Raylan at what is it now, 592, 692, something like that. So they play in different areas of that cargo gameplay loop. But if you have needs for each one of them, respective to how you plan on hauling cargo, then I think they could be a great duo. Kyle Smith says, question, hi, regarding space under the cargo deck / main floor, was referring to the Ironclad. Oh yeah, so space under the main, you're talking under the actual floor of the main cargo hold. I haven't seen anything, and I don't think Trispone has as well, to be totally honest with you. So I'm not expecting anything to be there, because there's also got to be space for the actuation of all the landing gears, and it does have a lot of landing gears. Let's see here. Let's see here. Grabbing one more question. Yeah, one more question here, and then we'll talk about the ship some more. Timmed7709 says, question, which non-cargo crate uses are you most looking forward to with the Ironclad? That's a great question. I personally think of some sort of like marketplace version of the Ironclad would be a smart one. It makes the most sense to have sort of a marketplace version, sort of a privateer, an Ironclad privateer version. I don't know. It just seems like it would make sense. It'd be maybe a nice stepping stone to get up to the Banu Merchantman and Kraken privateer. So it'd be like a nice marketplace, NPC marketplace stepping stone, if that's a loop that you want to invest time in. So yeah, that's probably what I would say. Again, thank you everyone for the amazing follows today. Let's see here. Let's go back to our ship here. Again, we are watching Trispone's video on the Ironclad. I'm going to copy that link and post it in chat again. He did a great 3D rendering of it, and that's sort of what we've been watching here. So we're going to pause on that for just a minute, though. Been looking at the Ironclad. They showed off a couple of paints here, not a lot. I'm sure we'll get a lot once the ship goes into production. You know, CIG's, I think, been doing a good job on some of these paints lately. The Perseus paints were really impressive, and I hope we see that same sort of thinking coming over here to the Ironclad. But the ship, when it went on concept sale, had two paints, obviously the factory standard, and then the Dauntless, which is sort of a black and silver variant, which I thought was really, really nice. With the Ironclad Assault, obviously the upgunned version, the difference there being the factory is with the black and yellow, and then it was able to be outfitted in the Dauntless as well. So again, further proving that this ship will be able to share paints across one another. So I'm expecting all the paints that are released will work on both ships. What I hope is that we'll be able to put on the yellow and black on the regular Ironclad. I don't know if they're going to allow that, but I sincerely hope they do. Looking at the interior of the Assault, you can see that, let me zoom in here a little bit. Scroll down. There we go. You can see that the space is arranged just ever so slightly different, in that there's a bigger partitioned area back here to do repair. Now, the way they show these Novas packed back here does have me a little concerned that while, yes, you could get the Nova back there, it would be awfully cramped and tricky to get it like maneuvered in there, and especially hard to do if there are other vehicles in here. But again, we're gonna have to see how the interior of the ship looks before we make that judgment. Things could have stretched and scaled and stuff like that. Now, if you're one of those people that are wondering how big the ship may have grown, I don't think the ship will have grown that much through production, and there is a reason, and we're going to get to that here in a minute. But you can see here 4 Novas parked in here. How many Novas, because it's been a while since I've done it, so chat, maybe you can help me out. How many Novas can you fit comfortably without ramming them in at crazy angles? How many Novas can comfortably fit in the C2 Hercules? Chat, can you help me out on that? All right, Gin and Tonic says 3. I thought that was around 3. Shibusen says 2. I can't remember. I thought it was 3. Comfortably 2, 3 if you keep it tight. So at the very least, then we'll say that the Ironclad will be the new king of vehicle transport, right? At least till the Ironclad, or at least till the Liberator comes. Maybe the Liberator can do better at it. Again, it's not always how many vehicles it can is spec to carry, but how certain things on the ship are arranged, versus from like ramp to just the interior space, etc. Some ships just become naturally better at something because of small little design tweaks, that are attributed specifically to that ship and not to the gameplay loop itself. So we'll have to see. But again, the Ironclad, when it does come out, is going to be the new kind of vehicle carrier record holder. Now, I guess you could say the Idris, with its big back ramps, you could store a lot of Novas in there. But let's be honest, the Ironclad is going to be a much easier ship to get down on the surface, deploy the ramp. Vehicles drive right off. It's a much less unwieldy ship to deal with in these sort of scenarios. So I think the big question here is, could CIG have a third variant of the Ironclad, in production or at least on the drawing board? And I know I said a marketplace variant, but I think we'll be able to do that just through emergent gameplay. I guess if I'd say, what variant do I think CIG would do of the Ironclad? I would honestly probably say a crafting variant. They could easily make this a base building variant, because the drones could come out the top of the roof like they do on the other base building ships. But a crafter with some like big crafting machines in it, they absolutely could do that. Again, if I was to say what is the most likely for CIG to do as another Ironclad variant, it would be a crafting variant. Yeah. And I'd love to see that. I'd probably definitely purchase one. So there we go. Ironclad and Ironclad Assault. Now, pulling up a few details. There's a few things I wanted to point out on the model. So let's go back to our model. And this goes back to the idea of the ship being, the Kraken coming after this. And so the funny thing is these ships do share a lot of parts and pieces. A lot of it's minor stuff. Like if I flip this over, you can see these like winglets here. These are all parts and pieces that are on the Kraken in various ways. I'm going to flip it over. Let me turn off the light real quick. Even just little areas like, you see this piece here, these like little, these long nacelles here with this bit of geometry, that is even on the Kraken in various ways. The command deck, this piece here, this window piece here that we're looking at, if you bring in a Kraken, it's almost the exact same size as the Kraken bridge, like almost exactly. So you can expect this geometry here that they're developing to carry over into the Kraken bridge mesh. So yeah, you're going to see a lot of that carryover. I mean, I think that's the point behind making this ship, is to have some of those carryovers. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of other things that carry over. For example, things like the downward facing VTOLs in the bottom of the Ironclad. We know that the Drake Kraken has integrated VTOLs on its underside, so you'll see the same thing. For those of you curious about the Ironclad's landing gears, it has several. You can see those here. It has one here and then a large one here. This is two actuators, and then this large piece here in the center is like the big landing pad. So we got those on both sides, and then we got two more of the Caterpillar style landing gears here in the back. So for a total of 4 in the back, and then the one up here, so 2, and then the 2 big pads. So that's how it will land. But yeah, there'll be a lot of carryovers from this into the Kraken. So I know this ship has been in development for a long time, but I think the benefit there is that the ship is in development for a long time and is able to sort of marinate, and it will allow them to really develop that Drake kit, really develop that large meaning 100-meter plus Drake stylings. So that can carry over into the Kraken and make the Kraken for a better ship when it releases. For those of you new to Star Citizen, or maybe you're not as familiar with the ships that we're sort of mentioning and talking about here, the Ironclad is obviously made by Drake Interplanetary, and it is about 124 meters long, I think, or 120 meters long cargo ship. The Kraken is a much, much larger capital ship by Drake that is a 270 meters long. Right, so over 125 meters longer than even the Ironclad, right? So very big ship. Think aircraft carrier in space, right? Keep It Secret says over 500 watching. Yes, that is right. There are over 500 people watching. Thank you very much to this amazing community. I'm going to once again go over something real quick, everybody. If you want to get in on that Drake Golem giveaway, all you got to do is go to that Gleam link that just popped up in chat. I'll paste it again. Go there. It's free to enter. I'm going to give that away on Thursday. Okay, I'm going to do a stream on Thursday. We're going to give away the Golem. It's a starter pack with LTI, courtesy of our good friends at Cloud Imperium Games. So get in on that while you can. But here's sort of the big thing with this. I am doing 2 big giveaways next year. An Ironclad for Invictus and a Galaxy for IAE. Okay, now we're a ways off from those, but those 2 giveaways are going, that will be happening around that time. Just by being in the streams today, not even chatting, just by being in the streams for 30 minutes or more, your name gets copied and will be applied to both the Ironclad and the Galaxy giveaway as an additional ticket. So when those giveaways happen, let's say you get in on those giveaways, you get a few free giveaway tickets through the actual Gleam link for the Ironclad giveaway. The streams you watch leading up to then give you extra entries, and you don't have to do anything. All you have to do is watch. Yep, you can totally lurk. Lemming, you can totally lurk. You do not have to actively chat. Lemming, I hope you're doing well, buddy. Hope things over on the Inforunner side of the world are well. So yeah, get in on that giveaway, everyone. Do appreciate it. But yeah, the Kraken. I've done a video on this. I will post it in chat. It's actually my most successful video. And it is let's see, let me get that link for you. It usually comes up pretty quickly. Maybe not anymore. Let's see here. I think my Kraken video has been supplanted by others at this point, but I'm going to post this link to this video. Again, I've covered the Kraken at length at this point. I've really said kind of all there is to say about it. We do know the Kraken is in development. So for those of you that are excited about that, we'll probably get updates. I'm sure when we get to DefenseCon, hey, Ryan Mac Gamer, hope you're doing well, buddy. When we get to Drake DefenseCon and the Ironclad goes flight ready, I think we're going to get probably a solid update about the Kraken's development. I know around CitizenCon of this year, I talked to someone who spoke directly with one of the team leads working on the Kraken, and they had said around CitizenCon that the ship had really only been in development for about a week or 2 at that point. So barely any progress had been made. They were primarily sort of still sussing the ship out, figuring out flow and what parts of the concept need to be upgraded and all that kind of stuff. So but yes, that is the Kraken. That is sort of what we're mentioning, is that there's going to be a lot of parts and pieces of the Ironclad that transfer over into the Kraken. This is the same thing that happened with the RSI ships this year. They did a lot of RSI ships, both big and small. We've seen elements of all of those populate within within the other RSI ships that have come out. Now that we know the Galaxy's in development, you can expect further stuff that you see in the Perseus and the Apollos and all that to filter into the Galaxy, which will help its development, help it get developed faster, but it's also at a higher quality bar. Architect TV says, I talked to John and Ben at the DC watch party. Architect, yeah, did they mention anything of interest regarding the Kraken or Ironclad while you were there? Feel free to post it into chat. They may not have given much away at a public event like that, but you never know. You never know. Let's see here. Again, I may have missed some questions, everybody, but I'm going to try to grab some here. We'll post back over here. Again, don't forget, new ships were added to Fleet Viewer from IAE. So if you're waiting on those are now available to check out. All right, let's hit a few more questions here. Let's see which ones here. I got to find where I left off. Just a minute. This is a question from, oh, nope, I answered that one. Okay, here we go. Now I know where we left off. Here we go. Cam Wright says, question, Grim, do you think CIG will ever do another next great starship competition? Will we ever see another community-made ship? I don't think so. I don't think so. And the reason we won't, in my opinion, is primarily centered around CIG's ship development pipeline changing so radically in the last few years. It's obviously become much more efficient, but there's now a lot of things that CIG has to consider for some of these ships, everything from engineering needs to manufacturer aesthetic needs, role needs and all that, that I think it just becomes really, really difficult for a fan-made ship to be able to check off all the boxes that CIG needs to consider, when putting a ship into development, right? Architect TV says, Kraken was pretty much spot on with what you said. However, some news about the Caterpillar that could translate to other Drake ships. The elevators might get 2-stage movements. Oh, that's really interesting, Architect. Thank you very much for letting us know. Yeah, that's what I had heard about the Kraken. It had only been in development a short period of time, which makes sense. It had just been coming out of pre-production. So, yeah, I mean, I hope the Caterpillar gets a lot of love. I really do. Let's see here. What's the next question here? Project Gnome says, do you think we'll ever see a refinery vehicle like the fan-concepted Drake Landlubber? I haven't seen that one. Yeah, I'm sure we'll get a ground-based refiner at some point. I think we're going to have a ground-based version of almost every gameplay loop at some point. It just may be further down the road. DJ Moore says, do you think we'll get the passenger ships anytime soon, like the Genesis, E1, etc.? That's a tricky one because it really comes down to AI tech. Normally, I would want to say that's a post 1.0 thing, but why would I maybe be a little hesitant in saying that? Possibly because when we get the monthly reports, we see so much work and effort going into AI stuff that you never know. It's possible that could become a surprise announcement from CIG later this year at CitizenCon or the next, where they're just like, yep, we're moving forward with passenger gameplay stuff. I still think it's probably 1.0 or a little after, but never say never. I mean, CIG's been surprising us at every turn lately. Amco1313 says, question, what about air loss and space? Oh, okay, we went over that one. We did answer that question. Mr. Blarkin says, question, this is a joke, when will they give Caterpillar solo players or solar panels so that it can transform into a beautiful Drake butterfly? Well, you know what, in all seriousness, I would like some ships with solar panels. I think that would be really cool. Jen and Tonic says, question, did the bug with the L22 and Fleet Viewer get fixed? We believe so. It's working for me. So I think we got it fixed. Figment75 says, the real question is, will the Ironclad have a hockey ring in the basketball court of the Hey, you know what? They added a basketball court to the Perseus. It makes sense that they would add something crazy here, right? 100%. So I would love that. I don't know what they would do, but I would love that. I would love that. Again, big shout out to everyone following today. Really appreciate all that, everybody. We've had so many follows, it's been a little hard to keep up with them all, but Corbzen, Steelburn, Jabba, Ascorbic Acid, Abanza, Devil 40, Texno, Mechanicos, GG, Lepai, Do Slip, Licor Wolfbane, hopefully I'm saying that right. Sir Camps a lot, Lip De Chip, Thank you for those follows. I do appreciate all of you. I really do. And then all the support over on YouTube, the subscriptions over on YouTube. Please thumb up the video too if you're watching on YouTube. I greatly appreciate it. It does help a lot. I know it's the most overused statement ever, but it does really help. So 248 over on YouTube, 264 over on Twitch. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Couple more questions here. Bean2 Delphnic says, question, how many MDCs fit to make an Iron Dome? You know what? It will be interesting to see how people use MDCs moving forward. I honestly think you could use them in a way to sort of make a bunch of PDCs on top of a ship. I think CIG even joked about that. So yeah. Architect says, oh, the MSR could possibly get some love with a second exit. That'd be good to see. I think if they did that, that ship would immediately get popular again. Architect says, ladders are still being looked at. I mentioned they were still janky, and John and Ben agreed. Yep, still janky. I agree. See here. Architect question says, would it be easier to add a kiosk style for marketplace that would snap to the grid view than perhaps cargo boxes you would buy out of, rather than whole new concept of a ship? Yeah, I think that is the case for like player run cargo ships. I think with the NPC driven cargo market, or so the NPC marketplace ships, that is sort of a different thing, right? That is sort of a different thing. Kenjin says, morning, StarJump Grim. Good morning to you. Did I miss the Ironclad news? No, we're still talking about it. We're doing questions right now, though. We're doing some questions. Let's see here. A couple more. Zelcon says, Drake Ironclad heavy gunship, size 9 cannons in the cargo bay. Hey, anything is possible. That would be very Drake. That would be very Drake. Wolf Blitzer says, do you think every manufacturer will have a capital ship? Do I think every manufacturer will have a capital ship? Long term, yes. I do think every manufacturer will have a cargo ship of some type. Well, no, not every manufacturer. Most manufacturers, I guess, is what I would say. You know, I'm not sure if Kruger would or anything like that. But your main manufacturers, you know, the MISC, the Aegis, the Drake, the RSI, Consolidated Outland, Argo, those, I do think they will all have multiple capital ships across the board. Some of the more niche manufacturers, though, like Asperia, Kruger, things like that, I'm not so sure about. We'll just have to see. We'll have to see. I don't know if CIG intends for them to have capital ships. Now, was I saying cargo ships the whole time? I meant capital. Bean2 Delphinic says, question, do you think the Caterpillar will have minor updates and a Mark II to fix everything else? I don't think it will have a Mark II, because I think CIG knows that the Caterpillar needs more substantial updates, much like the Reclaimer. So that would mean it's not really applicable for a Mark II. They're going to do a pass on the current ship to bring it up to standard. Again, thank you for those subscriptions, L'Oreal 9 and Boosh. Do appreciate that. Timid says, how does the bot consolidate YouTube versus Twitch account names? For the question bot, it doesn't. It just posts both. If you're referring to the platform I use to grab names, it doesn't either. So if you're on YouTube and Twitch, it counts as two. This is something I talked about recently. It's unfortunately just a limit of the platform I'm using. But yeah. But yes, the Reclaimer, Caterpillar, probably some other ships in there, they need more substantial reworks to bring them up to par. Only then, once that is fully playable, will CIG, I think, consider any sort of Mark IIs for that. And even then, I don't think it's required. I think they just need to get the current ships working. Spacey Jones says, do you think there will be a new ship that is CCUable from the Perseus? I don't think so. Unless when CIG does the battlecruiser concept sale, unless they allow, like one interesting thing I heard from someone that CIG could do that I think would be kind of interesting would be if CIG allowed you to sort of CCU from anything to the battle cruiser. I don't think they would do anything like that. Like if you could CCU from even like an Idris or Pioneer or Perseus to the battle cruiser. But I don't think they're going to do that. I don't think so. But I mean, could a new ship come out? Sure, but I don't think so. Genetox says, question, did that bug with the L22 get fixed on Fleet Viewer? Yes, it did. At least I think it did. Raygun says, what is your prognostic for final ships in Best of Show next year? So what do I think of the ships for Best in Show next year? Well, I think the Clipper is going to do quite well. I think the Perseus will be a front runner. I would say the Ironclad and Perseus will be the two ships that are sort of duking it out, though. It'll be between those two ships for the top winner of Best in Show next year. I think the Perseus is really loved, and I think CIG knocked it out of the park doing that ship properly. But we're going to have to see, where the Ironclad lands to see if the Perseus is dethroned or not, right? So it remains to be seen. We'll just have to see. We'll have to see. Continuing on. Let's see here. A couple more questions, everybody. May not get to all of them. Let's see here. Question, do you think we'll get AI turret blades maybe? If so, if yes, how far might it go? I do think we're going to get them, and I think we're going to get them this year. That's my thinking. I don't know how far they're going to go, but I do think we're going to get them. I think they'll be for ships that do have the computer blades for them, and it'll only affect remote turrets. Will you be able to store an Ironclad / Caterpillar with the control module removed? It's a damn good question. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. That's a damn good question. I mean, I think you will. I think you will be able to do that. What roll-on effects there'll be because of it remain to be seen. Question, do you think we'll get a ship with 4.5? People say there will be, but I thought that there would be something about it by now if there was. Yeah, great question. I don't think we will. The reason is that myself and others, we're a part of a sort of content creation group with CIG, and usually we get a heads up on that type of stuff. For sure, we would have heard something about this ship now and leaks or something like this, but generally, whatever the new ship is what CIG gives us to give away for that patch. But for 4.5, they gave us a Golem to give away, a Golem with LTI, a starter package. So there was no new ship giveaway. So I'm personally not thinking a new ship is coming. That's what I'm thinking. I mean, I could be wrong. I'm speculating wildly here, but I have seen literally zero evidence of another ship coming this year. Question, will you be able to store an Ironclad? Oops, sorry, answered that one. Let's see here. Couple more here, just a couple more. Deathly says, do I think the Ironclad Assault will have a medical bay? Maybe. I would say a strong maybe. Simply because it would probably be a smaller, like tier 3 or tier 2 medbed, but it is very possible. I think they have the space, and it would make sense in the assault version. If they do that, then the assault version really becomes the ship to have. Intro E says, don't they always have a December ship? Seems like the Hermes would be fit for that. You know, maybe the Hermes is something, though, that I'll be honest with you, there was a little bit of stuff that came out about it a few months ago, but I haven't seen enough evidence that the Hermes is even a real thing, to be totally honest with you. I do think there'll be some sort of Apollo variant, but I haven't seen anything too crazy. Zaydozer says, question, do you think they will go, Godan77 says, so they give content creators ship codes to give away, but the referral program is very light on free ships. No, not really. It's not a ship code to give away. They give a ship that is labeled a giveaway ship. It's labeled differently in the hangar. It can't be CCU'd or melted or anything like that. And it's literally only for giveaways. The content creators can't keep them as well. It's literally to just so the community has ways to get ships. So, but they're not codes or anything. Dozer says, do you think they'll go back to older ships, even some newer ones, and give them some form of crafting? Some, yeah, like the Carrack for sure. We'll get a little bit of that. Seo Tenen says, question, do we have any idea about the ship that will be released this week? I'm not expecting one, but I could be wrong. Let's see, what is the point? 3D Imagination says, what is the point to buy a big ship if you can't fly it solo? To fly it with your friends, to do multi-crew. Just like you would if you're playing World of Warcraft and you're running a group of your friends through a dungeon. It's the dungeon or raid equivalent of playing this game. Spicy Jones says, question, follow-up. Given that they said only the battle cruiser will be a concept ship, so could we expect only ships that will take less than, say, 6 months to make going forward? So this is a great question and one that I've been thinking about. Does the lack of new concepts mean that we're not going to get a lot of big ships moving forward? Right? Because a big ship going into production means it's going to be in production for 2 years, and then suddenly it just comes out flight ready. The biggest ship that they've got, that they've given us, that went straight to flight ready without like any information beforehand, was the Starlancer Max. The Starlancer Max. So there's precedent for it, but that's about an 83 meter long ship. We haven't seen anything bigger than that go straight to flight ready with no concept sale or forewarning that the ship was coming. So that's a great question. We don't know. We'll have to see what happens. Let me see. Anything else here? I know there was some questions if the Vulture would fit in the Ironclad. We can check that real quick. Now remember, I'm working off just the current concept model. Now it's very possible that CIG has updated the interior for other, to be bigger. So I don't want you to read into this too much, but what I am going to do is I'm going to open the Vulture model. I want to give my hard drive a minute to think about that because it's accessing an archive file that I haven't accessed in a while. But we'll throw the Vulture in there and we'll see if it fits. Okay. Don't forget, everyone, do the Gleam link that's just popped up in chat or that's pinned to the top of chat. You can go to that Gleam link and enter to win a Drake Golem starter pack with LTI. I'll be giving that away on Thursday of this week. Okay, let me open the Vulture here. Okay, there we go. Let's grab the Vulture. This should be to scale. So now, again, this is the current holo model of the Ironclad. Okay, the ship could be, I got to scale this up to scale. This is the size of a Vulture in the Ironclad. Okay, now the Vulture does sit pretty low to the ground, so I'm just going to move it over for a minute. So I don't have the landing gears on this, but the landing gears would be about there because it does sit really low. Now, from a width and height perspective, you could probably get the Vulture in there. I think your big issue is going to be from a height perspective. You see how the top of the ship sort of sticks out right there? So I think height is going to be the big issue on the Vulture fitting in the Ironclad. And if you watch Trispone's video, and Trispone talked about this when he was talking about the Galaxy with me, the height is always sort of the issue when it comes to stuff like this. Almost always. It's one of the big issues with seeing if like a ship will fit or not, right? It's always a height issue. Okay, one more question here. One more question. This question is from Buddha7326. This question, do you think the Arastra will have a different design language than current RSI ships, and that's why it's not slated for next year like the Galaxy? Well, no, I think they're just tackling one RSI ship a year, one big RSI ship a year, so it's very possible the Arastra could come out the following year right? So it could be a 2027 ship. I think the Arastra will look very much like it does now. From a styling standpoint, though, I think it'll be a blend of Perseus Zeus styling, so kind of that rugged civilian look. I know this Perseus has a little bit of military in it, but kind of that rugged civilian look mixed in with the Salvation's sort of industrial look. But we still haven't seen RSI's industrial aesthetic from an interior ship perspective. That's something we haven't seen yet, and I think that'll be new for CIG to sort of tackle. So it may be a little while before we see that. But yeah, I think it'll be a slightly different aesthetic, and I honestly I hope it's a slightly different aesthetic because it's
like
the industrial gameplay loop is different, right? It is the industrial aesthetic should be different, and we're going to see that apply to not only the Arastra but also the Orion, right? And wherever they go with the Arastra's interior will give us a little bit of an idea of what they plan on doing with the Orion's interior, and I think we're all pretty excited about that, right? So it remains to be seen, but I'm starting to think now that the Arastra could be a 2027 ship, to be totally honest with you. It would not surprise me. So everyone, thank you very much for showing up today. You all did incredible showing up on both streams, supporting the channel. I really appreciate it. We're very, very close to partner now. We hit our 7,500 follower goal on Twitch, which is absolutely amazing. Thank you to Bops and Bops' community for coming over with the raid, hanging out. A lot of you hung out. I really appreciate that. Don't forget to get in on that Gleam giveaway. The link is right up there in chat. Make sure to get in on that for the Golem giveaway. That is a Golem with starter package with LTI, courtesy of CIG. And again, remember, all of you that stuck around today, at least 30 minutes in chat, not even chatting, just watching the stream for at least 30 minutes, you all got entries for the Ironclad and the Galaxy giveaway that will happen next year. Okay. So I really appreciate you being here for that. I'll be streaming again on Thursday night. Thursday night, we'll do the Golem giveaway. I'm going to have some guests on. It's going to be a fun time. I hope to see you all there. You all are amazing. Today, we're going to raid my good buddy, Space Tomato. I want you to give him some STARJUMP love when I send you his way. So give him a little bit of love. Hit that follow button if you don't already watch him. He is a genuinely great dude. So I'm going to send you over there. Stay tuned for Thursday's show. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we may even do some 3D modeling kit bashing for a Drake ship, maybe, on Thursday. So if you like my kit bashing stuff, tune in then. We'll do some kit bashing on Thursday, most likely, okay? So I'm going to send you all over to Space Tomatoes. Give him some Star